So get this. Now, I shared this document in a video quite a while back, but I only briefly went through it and I never actually read it. Although I had read it myself at the time, I didn't read it in the video. Now, the lie NASA told Belcom NASA Insider is not that we lied about certain things, we lied about everything. Now, what I want to do today is actually go into this in a little bit more depth, but I'm not going to go into all of it. There is a particular part or parts that I want to read you just because they blew my mind. And I'm hoping that it will give you some more perspective on your reality. So let's go. Ancient blessing hand of Azazel. The snake around the wedding finger signifies the marriage of Hugger, Naga, the snake, the head of the snake, that's what that is there, with man's DNA, to create a vehicle with reptile brain inserted that makes a compatible nervous system with both reptile and man. This allows either man or reptile to operate the vehicle, but both appear as man. On his thumb is the Ark of the Coven ant, the ant consciousness. The ant consciousness being the parasitic consciousness corresponding with the snake. What has happened is our DNA has been manipulated so that our brain now has the ability to hold this lower frequency, or should I say house this lower frequency. The lower frequency being the reptile, being the parasitic consciousness which doesn't care for anything else but itself and is run by its carnal desires. The Ark of the Coven ant, which you find in the inner garden of the Vatican. We were taught in school that Alexander was experimenting on mankind, and the father of the branch of man said he had no right to do this, and this launched a war for mankind. Drove out the father of the branch of man out through the east gate, and Lilith, who gained control of the system key, the Ankh, locked us in and him out. So what's that saying? It's saying that these parasitic entities actually managed to disconnect us to an extent to our source, and they have now infiltrated our system, our consciousness, and locked that greater part of ourselves out. The keys were used to capture life and bring it back through the gate, while the Ankh was used to put them back under the veil and erase their memory. Now this makes a lot of sense, because I know from reading into the Egyptian culture myself that they used to use the pyramids and the tombs to go underneath, and they were initiation chambers. And in these initiation chambers, you would lie there and it would have it completely black, and you would go on this 3-day, I believe it was, for 72 hours, you would literally leave your body. They pulled the earth through their eye into their territory, called the abyss, hell. It is the war between Satan and God. Heaven is defined as man's place of origin, generation. It is a separate area of positive space with laurel worlds. Evil is not allowed to go there through the east gate. Now what I want to explain to you here is the east gate, the west gate, positive space, negative space, heaven and hell are all concepts which actually live internally in your being, and your perspective about what you see is what it will be, which means that everything that is being taught or understood here is actually your internal being. It's the enormity of what you are and your imagination that is able to project it onto the world, this illusion. But essentially, you have the ability to transverse anywhere in this universe. You just don't necessarily know how to, because you haven't traveled within, because the within is the without. So what you got to do is you got to put in the work so that you understand what's going on behind the mind, behind your emotions so that you can understand how to navigate your way through space, so that you can make heaven out of hell and bring the light into the darkness. Lilith put up a firewall in front of the black sun to mask it from our view. Otherwise, we'd find out we are in the abyss. This is the yellow sun we see. Now, this is just mind-boggling because the yellow sun is supposedly a torch and there's a black sun behind it. Black sun of the Sith. When Earth fell in battle, we were pulled through the eye to an area that sits below heaven. We are fallen, which makes sense, fallen angels. This area is the abyss, which is their territory. This is why the branches of Set make all the laws for the area in this space, which makes sense because the entire law and structure of society is an inversion on reality. As the war continued, Anne and the others continued to capture mankind by the use of keys and insert them into this area. From Sumerian law passed it to Hebrew, it was the custom of the coven to be a diarchy. Now notice, a diarchy, literally the opposite of a hierarchy. I mean, they both have their place. One obviously mirrors the other. By the law of the sea, the priest and priestesses were blood related and must be the bloodline of the founding family that made the blood pact with the families of Set and created the coven. The Baal, while stripping man of their 12-strand DNA, see how this all plays into your DNA, and reducing human light man size, which makes sense going back to the giants, the giant steps, the giant buildings. Because they were also using that 12-strand DNA to create reptiles with more man-like appearances. Amorites, who were the tall as cedars and strong as oaks, were also called by the name Hugger, Nua, and Naga. The reptile brain is the known behaviour of source of all ritual, hierarchy, selfishness and basic instincts, which is what our modern society is run on, in which they have inverted. The reptile brain is the known source of all sociopathic behaviour. The medical definition is someone who is neurologically hardwired to a reptile brain. So the process here is to understand that part of you, accept it, because it's only through acceptance that you then can surrender. And surrender is the means that you let go of your emotions that are negatively affecting you so that you can ascend higher, because that density is what's weighing you down and you've got to rise up above it. And to rise up above it, you've got to see it from a different perspective. And once you get to the source, once you get to the center, you realize that you are the ultimate creator, the nothingness that manifests everything, and that you are the awareness that cannot be separated. And in that process, you go beyond this. And by doing so, you actually create a better life for every being in the universe, no matter where it is. Now, what I'm going to go into in the next video is the mirror bit here and beyond. It is very, very interesting what is said. So probably going to have 2 to 3 parts maybe to this little series, but we're going to go into this next time. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, drop a like and a comment. Going to go deeper into stuff like this. If you found this interesting, let me know down below. Be sure to follow me on all my social medias at Reborn13, and there are other which will be linked in the description. But for now, we're going to leave it there and I will be back soon.